All right, Florida State dominates the NFL draft in a way that hasn't been done since, remember, Richie, 2013,
Florida
2014 was the
State with
draft where they
11. Yeah.
sent 11 guys to the NFL draft, this time with 10 guys going to the draft, the second most in school history. Honestly, they were, I think, maybe third or fourth overall in total draft picks again this year for the entire nation. And, Michigan finished number one. I think they had four guys taken in the seventh. They still count. I get it. Florida State had a couple of guys in the seventh as well. But honestly, Florida State just dominates. Six
Well, our
guys taken.
quarterback wasn't available for the postseason, TJ.
Yeah.
So
Well, yeah. So then nothing counts. Six guys in the top 100. And we'll start at the top. We'll talk about some of these, some fits, and man, looking out at what next year's draft might be, it also looks like it could be really, really special. But starting at the top with Jared Verse, number one round, number 19 overall, goes to LA in a place that lost Aaron Donald. Now gets Jared Verse in, and another guy that we'll talk about here in just a minute. But I'm excited for Jared. Okay, I'm always more excited for guys to go to teams that are going to be somewhat competitive and actually good. And I think the Rams, they underwhelmed this year for sure. Fringe playoff team, made it in, didn't win a game, lost to the Lions. But I think they have a good team there. And I think LA has a chance to be competitive. And that's honestly what you want for these guys is to go to a good situation where they can go in and hopefully win a lot of games.
yeah, you want a good fit, and we're going to talk about a receiver who I think found a phenomenal fit here shortly. But yeah, Jared Verse going into LA, I think that's just awesome for him. I saw he and his family were in Phoenix from watching the draft. McVay even said, oh, so good, you got a short flight to LA, so we'll get you here. And Jared Verse, to be a 0-star recruit that ends up at Albany, and then all because of the COVID situation. Then transfers to Florida State. Everybody wanted him. Mike Norvell got him. And he just delivered on every expectation I think we all had at Florida State for him. And now to see him be a first-round pick, a top 20 pick in the NFL draft. His dad was nearly in tears in that video on X, if you watched it, saying, we did it. That was just – I love the family situations more than just the player themselves getting drafted. Just seeing that and how the family reacts and how happy they were and knowing where he came from in terms of, again, a 0-star recruit that ends up at Albany to ending up at Florida State, going 13-0, and then being a first-round draft pick. That was just so cool to see, and I expect big things out of Jared in Los Angeles with the Rams.
Yeah, Jared was a fringe first rounder last year, maybe an early second round guy, and somebody who showed if you come back and do things the right way and put a lot of tape back out, you guarantee yourself a first round draft pick. No one doubted that he was going to go the first round this time. Big shout out to the Battles Inn for getting him back. Fringe second rounder, fringe first rounder is, they don't come back a lot of times. A lot of guys leave and go in the second round.
And they shouldn't outside of NIL.
But to get him back, to get him, there for another year, big shout out. So again, I tweeted this during the draft. If you were enjoying watching 6 guys go in the top 100 and then 10 guys go overall, you should probably sign up and be a Battles End member. Because what they're doing for retention and what they're doing with this roster is really pretty phenomenal. And so make sure that you are supporting there. You talked about a wide receiver getting a good fit. Keon going to the Bills is a ton of fun. You can like him, not like him, whatever. Josh Allen's a top 5 quarterback in this league. And they've
top 3
had their,
in my opinion. Yeah.
They've had their playoff struggles, but he is really good. And that is a phenomenal situation for Keon Coleman. I am so excited for him. Did you see his press conferences though? Like, did you see
when he's sharing snacks with the press and everything?
He was great again to the Battles End. Like, he's got some good Battles End videos that you should go search Keon Coleman, the Battles End, and he's got some
Waffle House
stuff.
Yeah,
we're talking about Waffle House and other. But anyway, Keon, round 2, number 33 overall. There's a whole lot of trolling. Like, we think about the draft in rounds. In all reality, the draft is very linear. Keon goes first pick of the second round. To a phenomenal situation in Buffalo.
Yeah, instantly, it's Buffalo and Kansas City when you think of 1 and 2 in the AFC, right?
Yeah.
And Josh Allen is probably, unfortunately, the second best quarterback in the AFC next to Josh Allen or next to Pat Mahomes. But
Mm-hmm.
man, I could not think of a better situation for Keon to go into. I selfishly I would have loved him to end up in Tampa Bay. He's in Buffalo. He's used to the cold weather. He was at Michigan State for a while. But yeah, just a great situation. I think he's an instant. I don't think he's a wide receiver one, but he's on the field for probably 50 plus snaps a game as a rookie with a top 3 quarterback in the league throwing him the ball. Man, that was just a phenomenal situation. I know the money hits a little different from first round to second round, even though you're the first pick in the second round. But man, I just think Keon Coleman found himself in a phenomenal spot there.
Yeah, and most money is made on your second contract.
Exactly. Yep.
So you got a chance to make up for all of that, one pick difference. And again, the situation that he is going to is pretty special. Not that 32 would be bad.
I
with
can't think
the
of a
Chiefs,
better
but
situation, honestly. Like,
to me, the moment of the weekend was Braden Fisk's
yes.
call. And I guess we could have played that, but you can go search it. The call, you've probably already even seen it. The Rams call where they're trying to get Jared to be the one to make the call.
Stuck in traffic.
He's stuck in traffic, and they're showing it from both angles. Well, really all 3 angles. Braden, McVay, and Jared in traffic. They finally hand Jared the phone, and that was the first thing that I think Braden realized when they called him. He said, I get to play with Jared. And, there's a lot of talk about culture and taking these portal mercenaries and this, that, and the other, and people that don't want to adjust to how the game is played now. But the bond that those two have and him breaking down crying, I'm sitting there in, middle of nowhere, Alabama, watching this video, like crying. I'm like, what are we doing here? Really cool to see Braden Fisk went, 6th overall in the second round, 39th pick. Really cool to see him get to play with Jared. And man, that defensive line, if they keep it together, that defensive line could be really nasty for a long time for the Rams. But again, really, really cool to see the verse Fisk moment and get to see those guys kind of go at it, going forward.
I'm going to stop short of, the somewhat satire, Aaron Donald because now you got Braden Fisk, but I do think that's a great landing spot as well. And, the call you're talking about was awesome where you see Braden, kind of just on the phone with the GM, then with McVay, and then you see Jared like running up the stairs, like trying to get to that phone as soon as possible, saying, "Yeah, we get to play together." And I love the Jared versus press conference. I don't know if you saw this one, TJ. He talked about the work, something Mike Norvell preaches day in and day out, and he said, "I don't know if there's anybody who's worked as hard as me other than Fisk." He's like, that's the only guy that does it. And just to see them, back in LA, man, I hope Hard Knocks ends up with the Rams this year because that would be a ton of fun. I want to see their initiation, them doing they have to sing or whatever they do. But man, I just can't wait for that. I think Fisk is going to be I think both Fisk and Verse could be 10-year vets. And I'm just looking forward to watching. I'm going to be watching a lot of Rams games next year is what I figured out, TJ, which I don't really want to, but I'm going to have to at this point.
Renardo Green goes in the second round as well. Super excited there. Where did Renardo go? All right, we'll get right back to it. But first, I want to give some love to my guy, John, over at gotspears.com. Right now, they have a Father's Day deal going on, but it's only active for a couple more days. It's $50 off of most spears, most things on their website. Use the code Father's Day 24. Father's Day 24, all one word. You get $50 off of most of their items. They also have rush shipping options available so that your dad or someone special can get it on or by Father's Day. Go check out gotspears.com for your dad or anyone special in your life that you want to get a spear for. It doesn't have to be for a father, but you can use the code Father's Day 24 for $50 off. Appreciate John and his team for their support.
Renardo, he went to the 49ers, didn't he?
Yeah. Renardo Green to San Francisco, sneaks in there at the end of the second round. Again, a really good situation for a guy that you want to see really good things for. Sneaks into the end of the second round. and immediately on a title contender, and a guy who
Yeah.
just got better and better as his career went on. I'll skip one and then say really exciting for Jerry and Jones as well,
Hmm.
who goes to Jacksonville, maybe not as much of a contender, but gets to stay somewhat close to where he played college ball. And
Yeah.
and Jacksonville's kind of up and down, right? Like they'll we'll see kind of like what the future holds there, but both those guys, second and third rounders. I think if I'd have
Yeah.
told you that Renardo Green and Jerry Jones were going to be day two guys, a couple of years ago, you'd have been like, no way, get the heck out of here. But impressive to see what both those guys could do and make it their high draft picks again. DBU.
Yeah, really excited for Renardo, a Central Florida guy from Apopka. Um, you know, a guy that came into Florida State and you're like, okay, well, he was a filler in the class. And then this year, he ended up being the best corner we had, in my opinion. Like, he was phenomenal. And Jerry, in the transfer, who spent 3 years here, so it's not your typical transfer, but just shows the TJ the development that we have going on at Florida State right now. I loved it, and if Trevor Lawrence plays out, I follow way too many Jags fans on Twitter where I feel like their management is a mess just by following these people. But hopefully it works out for him there as well, because I think Jarian's he's a dog, man. That guy can play.
Yeah. Trey Benson goes early in the third round to Arizona. We talk about fit. We talk about landing spot. I mean, he's going to get a ton of burn there. I don't know. I don't know where Arizona kind of sits in the middle of everything, but Trey Benson, ultimately the second running back taken in this draft. A lot of people had him as RB1, and a guy who, again, stay healthy, go make a difference. Maybe Arizona turns around. Maybe you go and find a better place in a couple of years. But excited for Trey Benson. And then his buddy, Jordan Travis, goes in the fifth round. We skipped the fourth
Yes.
round. We hit everything else this draft. I was, two guys that were really just phenomenal, and Jordan probably on a different level. But just great Seminoles here multiple years. Jordan's turnaround is insane. It was exciting to see both of them go. Jordan with the Jets, I'm excited about. Learn behind Aaron Rodgers. I don't know what Jordan's long-term prospects are in this league. I don't pretend to be like the quarterback guru of who's going to make it, who's not. I know that there was a guy taken in the sixth round one time that ended up being really, really good. So, we'll see, but excited for both those guys. Benson in the third, Jordan in the fifth.
Yeah, Benson was the second or third running back taken. A guy that had 6 carries at Oregon, a really nasty injury, not very sought after in the portal. Again, we're talking the portal, and Norvell said, "No, I can make you work in this offense," and turns him into a high draft pick, especially for running back, because running backs just are not really sought after anymore in the NFL draft, at least not in today's league. It's quarterbacks, receivers, who can block and who can get after the quarterback. But really happy for Trey, and saw Devin, who's been on our show multiple times, Jordan's brother. Super excited for Jordan to end up at the Jets. Jordan's a guy, TJ, that when he got here that first spring, you watch him throw the ball, you're like, this is not a Power Five quarterback. Like, why did Willie just panic and bring him in just because he didn't have a quarterback? But no, he he ended up proving all of us wrong. Because if you said from day one you thought you were a Jordan Travis believer, I call BS. I don't believe you at all, because what his turnaround was phenomenal. Shout out Mike Norvell, Tony Torquez, everyone involved in that. But and most importantly, Jordan Travis himself, who put in the work and turned himself into a NFL draft pick. Again, we talked about situations, TJ, right behind Aaron Rodgers. I don't know how long that guy has left in the league, maybe 2 years max, I'd say. Jordan may have a chance, and I don't know if he'll ever be a QB1 in the league, but if he can be a 10-year backup, that's the best job in America.
Yeah. Finish out with a few guys here. Johnny Wilson, sixth round. Jaheim Bell, seventh round. There was a lot of talk about, like, should these guys have come back and played another year?
No.
I honestly, I don't know. I don't know that they improve their. If Johnny comes back and just goes berserk and really gets rid of a lot of the injury issues that kind of plagued him this year,
Doesn't
and
drop any
the
passes.
drop
Yeah.
issues, maybe he improves up to a third, fourth round pick. maybe even higher. His frame and size are pretty big, but as somebody who had a few injuries, some concussion stuff this year, the NFL has a much better insurance policy. They also, I mean, I'm sure the Battles Inn would have taken care of Johnny Wilson had he come back. Like, I don't have any doubts about that, but still not quite like NFL money. How much would he really have improved his stock? And then you're putting a lot of miles on the tires, in college. Again, same thing with Bell. I mean, Jaheim Bell was not, to me, maybe he improves it by a round max, but I don't know. Jaheim Bell's size, I don't know that he really improves it too much. And so I think those guys probably made the right decision. I'd love to have both of them back. Don't get me wrong, but I think they probably made the right decision in going. Tatum Bethune, kind of a surprise pick there at the end, goes in the 7th round as well. And then a couple of undrafted free agent signings: Akeem Dent to the Chargers, Kalen DeLoach to our Bucks, and
Yes.
then Fabo going to Kansas City. I think that's a great fit. It's tough to make a roster as an undrafted free agent, but Kansas City certainly has a lot of things figured out on offense. They had a good defense this year, but man, getting in the middle there and mixing it up on that D line could be really big for Fabo. So I'd love if he could make it. That'd be really cool if he could. I mean, if he makes a roster, he's going to go get a Super Bowl ring this year. So that'd be awesome for him. But yeah, Florida State ends up with 10 guys drafted, a couple of undrafted free agent signings afterwards, and an overall great weekend for the Noles. I think they had, what did Miami had 3 guys and Florida had 1 guy. So Florida State more than doubled them up in draft picks this weekend. In fact, I think you could add Florida, Miami, and UCF all together, and Florida State still had more draft picks than everybody else in the state of Florida. So, great weekend for Mike Norvell and the Seminoles, and you can stamp it right now. I think we have the most draft picks next year too. So, write me down for us repeating as back-to-back draft champions if that's a thing.
Yeah, no, I love it, and I'm pulling up a Jerry and Jones tweet right now, and he says, "If you want to be the best, come play and get developed by the best. All we got, all we need." Just love that from Jerry and Jones. He quote tweeted Mike Norvell when he tweeted about his being drafted. Just you know, there's a lot of talk about culture, and people say, "What really is that?" No, the culture is real at Florida State, and you see that in these players after they're drafted, still, you know, talking very highly of Florida State and Coach Norvell, and we have a great thing going on right now. Love seeing all these players drafted, and to your point, even the undrafted free agents ending up in good spots. Where they might end up on a practice squad, which is fine because if you've watched enough NFL, you know that by week 4 you could be called up from the practice squad. Like, hey, we got an injury. We need somebody. We need you right now. And I truly believe all of these guys will put in the work, as Mike Norvell says, and be ready if their number is called, which it will be for some of these players.
Yeah, no, really good stuff, and yeah, there is the narrative around development. We've had a lot of fun with that. We've poked a lot of fun at Miami for that, and just talked about it a bunch. But you know, this staff is not perfect at everything by any means, and
No.
there are things that I think they can improve on. But at the end of the day, I think that Mike Norvell values development. I think he values. I think he values guys that can develop players over guys that just go out and just recruit their tails off and then can't develop guys. Miami had the number 12 most talented roster in college football last year. They put 3 guys in the NFL, a couple of
They
them in the
went
7th
eighth in
round.
the ACC, I think.
Yeah, it's crazy, and same thing with UF. UF had a top 15 talented roster this year. They put 1 guy in the NFL. And so, I think for any faults or shortcomings that you find with this staff, they are some of the best developers in college football. And
And talk about hit rate in the transfer portal, TJ, because like Florida State people like, oh, they're just transfer portal you. No, they just hit on every single transfer. There's plenty of schools that take more transfers, but Florida State hits on them and develops them, like a Trey Benson who had nowhere to go, a Johnny Wilson who had no options really outside of Florida State. That's what Mike Norvell's done. He can identify these people in the portal, bring them to Florida State, and turn them into NFL draft picks, and that is something he can sell. it'd be I would hate if I was a college coach to have to go head to head with Mike Norvell in the transfer portal for a recruit because Norvell has everything to sell, especially after this weekend, TJ.
Yeah, and like I said, I think it just gets better and better next year, and we
Yeah.
continue to see those numbers climb. No pun intended. So,